Hi everyone, it's Nat here. Hope that you are all well and having fun crafting away. I am on today to try and make something using Joey Card Maker's Purple Passion mashup papers. Now Joey has put out some freebies on his Ko-fi, which I will link below, that we can use. I think it's a challenge that he's putting up for about 6 months. So I'm assuming there's going to be some papers that he puts up on his Ko-fi each month to do this. Don't quote me on that. He has made a post on his Ko-fi about it if you want to go and read it for yourself. So the idea is that we can use his papers and then blend them with elements that we have in our stash. So there is a hashtag, it's hashtag #MashUpJoey. So make sure if you do make anything and you put it up on any social media to add that hashtag so that Joey and other people who are interested can go and see what you've made. Anyway, when I saw this set of papers and that they were purple, I just had to have a go. So I thought I would jump on and make something with those. I meant to have it done this month. I don't think it's going to be finished this month because this is the last day of the month and I'm just putting up the first video for it. And I got a bit carried away, and what I thought might take a day to make is probably going to take 2 to 3 videos. But I don't like rushing to do my projects. I like to take my time and really enjoy the process. So that's what I have decided to do. So massive thank you to Joey because these papers are absolutely awesome. So under my envelopes, you can see I have some of the Purple Passion papers that I've printed out. You'll have a better look at them in a minute. I will flick through them for you. I also did grab, because I was looking at all of his freebies, I grabbed his Floral Grace ephemera kit and just printed out a page that has these journal cards. I thought they'd go nice with the Purple Passion kit. And I also grabbed the page that has these tags. There's florals, but there's also some people on them. And I thought they were really, really sweet. So I'm using those as well. Now, when I do the flip through of the papers, I've mixed these in with the Purple Passion ones. So I did want to show you that these are from the Floral Grace ephemera kit, if you wanted to find them. So I do have a box full of these, I think they're DL windowed envelopes, that I got from the second-hand shop one day, and I thought it was about time I dragged it out and did something with those. So that's what we are going to do. Here is a flip through of the pages. You can see the journal cards there from the Floral Grace kit. And then those tags are from the Floral Grace kit. The rest of them are all from the Purple Passion freebie. And they're so pretty. I'd use these over and over again in my journals. I'm meant to be making myself a purple themed journal sometime, so these will be really handy for that. Some I printed out in a normal print setting and then did them again with the matte photo print setting, so they're just different hues there. So it depends what you like. They're both very usable. Here's my box of windowed business envelopes. I've just grabbed a few of them out to use. Now, I'm checking them up against the tags that I've got in the kit because I know that I'd like to slip some tags into top pockets. So I want them a nice size for that. So I've just cut off the bottom near the window there of one end of the envelopes. Then I turn them around and cut off the other end. So they end up being about 5 inches long, the pages that we're going to be using. And I do keep the offcuts because I'm using a lot of them as well. So I think I cut 5, but I'm using 4 for the base structure of this little booklet. So I want to stick 2 together for the outside pages. You can see how I'm doing it there using the envelope flap. Just make sure things are lined up as good as I can get them. Now, I didn't pre-plan this or anything, so I'm just going with the flow. That's why it's a bit all over the place. I did edit a fair bit out while I was thinking. So they're both joined together now, and we have this little flap of the other envelope that you can lift up in the middle there. And the sides are open as well because we cut both ends off, which makes it a bit easier to cover things before we make our pockets and that. So I want to add this envelope now to that centre flap to create another page. Just figuring which side I want to put it on. So now for one more page, I've got another envelope, and I'm going to use that envelope's flap to stick down on that first envelope on the inside to make it a page. So that's the 4 envelopes, and they're all open so that we can flip them open. For now, so here are some of my, and I think they're antique book pages, and I decided I'd just stencil some purple on them. I'm using my Dusty Concord. The colour of that seemed to match the kit very nicely. So I've got a few different stencils that I do this with on a few pages. So now I've got just one of the square pieces of the front of my 5th envelope that I cut down, and I'm carefully peeling the plastic off so I can use it as a template for my window. Because if you want to cover with a solid piece of decorative paper or something, you need the window space cut out if you want to add a tag that will show through the window. So I figured this will be the easiest way to do it. So I'm putting it on the back of my decorative paper there and just tracing on the inside of my template. That gives me a guide as to where the window will be. Doing that with the pieces that I want to use for my front and my back cover. Just cutting an X there because I want to rip around it. I don't want it to be too neat. You know, if I go in with my knife or scissors, it just won't be very neat, I don't think. So I'd rather just rip it and make it a bit messy. That was my plan. So carefully ripping around within the lines, because if I go outside the lines, I know that some of my envelope might show. So you can see there it fits quite nicely. Then I want to remember to ink on the inside of my windows. I'm showing all the inking for this project because I have a bad habit of forgetting to ink things before I stick them down. So for this one, I thought if I show the inking, if people are following along, it might help remind them. So what I'm doing is using my walnut stain ink to ink my digital pieces, and I'm using the Dusty Concord to ink around the edges of my envelopes. So to get the right size, I just put my paper up against the envelope that I want to cover with it and make some marks with my pencils where the edge of the envelope is, and then use my ruler to rip it. Do this front cover fine, and then for some reason I managed to stuff up the back cover, but that's all right. There's a fix for that. So I'm not ripping them to the exact size of the envelope. They are just a tad shorter, and that is why I ink around the edge of my envelope with the Dusty Concord, so you don't have such stark white sticking out the edges. I even inked where we'll probably be covering with lace or fabric, but I just figure it's best practice to ink everything so that when I've got it all done, I don't look at it and go, oh no, I forgot to ink that one spot. So now I can glue the front cover piece down. I'm trimming the adhesive part of this envelope flap off. I'll be sticking that down as a pocket. Now I want to put some of the book page so that it shows inside the window piece. So for the inside of the pocket there, I'll be covering that with some of my stenciled book page. Just adds something a bit prettier and nicer to look at when you take your tags out. So again, just putting it up against the piece I want to cover, putting some lines where I want to rip it down. So grab a bit of scrap paper and just rip it off to put it up the top of the other side of my pocket so that when you're slipping your tag in or out, you don't get the shock of seeing a really contrasting white and blue speckled piece of paper. I figure it's a good way of finishing things off nicely. That is why it's good to cut the edges off your envelope so you can open them completely up like that. It's a lot easier to do this inside covering when you do that. And then you can just stick it back together afterwards. So now I want to cover for that inside page, and I want to cover the whole square, not just the pocket area. So I'm just cutting a piece of the Purple Passion papers for that. I went for some plainer style paper because that can be journaled on. I want some journaling spaces in this project. So again, inking with purple around the edges of my envelope and inking with the walnut stain around the digital. Just checking that it's all going to match up. Then I put my digital on top of the pocket and cut a thumb notch with my circle punch. Then I can stick my pocket down. A lot easier to cut that circle with it open like that than it is once you've stuck it down, obviously. Which is another thing I always forget to do. So double check that my tag is going to fit inside. Then we can put that piece on that covers the whole page there. Don't mind my buffhead. Just inking that thumb notch section there because it's a bit bright. Then I grabbed some of the offcut of my stenciled paper and thought that would add some interest to the page, so I'll stick that on as well. Then I grabbed one of the offcuts of the other end of the envelope and I thought that that would be neat to make a belly band out of it. So I'm just checking the length. Cutting off some of the flappy bits on the back side of it. Then I thought I'd use these beautiful florals to cover that with. So I'm sticking it together. That makes it nice and sturdy. Just tracing around it on the back of the floral paper. And I've got a nice piece to cover it with. And of course, ink around that with the purple. Ink around the digital with the walnut stain. You're going to be sick of hearing and seeing that, but as I said, I had to do a lot of it, so and I didn't want to forget to do any of it, which I'm sure I do here and there, but yeah, I did make a fair few mistakes with this project. Nice little belly band, good to use up those strips off of the end of the envelope as well. So now I can stick it down just on the sides there. So we'll be able to slip something into that as well. I have the larger offcut from the envelope, and it sits quite nicely on the inside of this open envelope with the window. Just cutting some of the flap off, so if I stick it up there, it's not going to cover my window at all, and that creates a flip up there with a pocket in it. I'm going to end up making 2 pockets there. So I decide just to cut this edge off so I can open that up as well and make it a bit neater. That way I can also put some covering in there easier if I want to. So just ripping up the stenciled book page to put on the inside again. I was being careful to get the text up the right way for where I wanted it up the right way, but I realise at the end of this video that I've got the text in the back page window upside down. So that's what my crafting session was like this time. I kept doing all this stuff so wrong, having to fix it up. But you'll finish a project after you've fixed all these issues and realise there's still an issue. So again, purple ink around all the envelope pieces. Seems like such a pain, but it really does help in a project like this with the envelopes being so white. So finding another one of the Purple Passion papers that I can cover this with. Again, with these plainer ones, that'd be great to write little notes on. I love using envelopes to do this sort of thing because there's so many flips and flaps that you can do lots of different things with. So now I want to cover this little flap there. It's like the self-adhesive flap for the envelope. I want to make that into a little tuck spot. So I'll put the nice florals on the front of that. You can see it's rounded on one side, the flap, but I'm cutting the paper square there to neaten it up nicely, make it look symmetrical. Now with the sticky flaps, if I want to use them as pockets and that, I'm a little worried that the stickiness of them might stick to whatever I slip in there, even though they're not really, really sticky. So I do adhere some scrapbook page to those to make them a bit smoother. So now I can stick both sides of that to make it the tuck spot. So again, using a bit of scrap paper on the inside of the top of what's going to be another pocket, just so it doesn't look so white if we see it while we're sticking things in. Checking how it's all fitting. Then I thought it would be nice to have a picture, since we don't have a picture on the other side yet, it would be nice to have a picture on the front of this little flip up. So I've got some of the paper that I want to use as a backing to our picture. Layer it up a bit. So I didn't just put a tiny bit of glue on then, I did edit out some of the gluing, which I do for the rest of the video, I think, to make it a little shorter for you. Gorgeous picture that is. So now I can close off my next pocket. And that's all ready for me to stick in. I still have to cover the page that it's going to go onto though, so I will just leave that like it is for now. So now this is the inside of the back cover page. And I want to cover inside, so I want to cover inside this, which will be a pocket, so that we see the page through the back window. I think this is the piece that I must have put in upside down. Doesn't matter. So I'm cutting out one of the journal cards from the Floral Grace kit here. And I want to use some of that on the inside there of the pocket page. Unfortunately, the other side wasn't quite big enough for the other side of the envelope, but I could have cut out another one. But I thought I would use them in another manner. So they were the two shorter offcuts of envelopes, and I'm going to use them to make a little sort of gusset for the pocket that I'm creating. So I've cut them down to size to fit inside there. I've angled the top end too so that you don't sort of see it much when you're slipping things in and out the pocket. I left the bottom of them still closed as it was when I cut it off. I thought that should be fine. So I stick those down to the windowed envelope part. I realised that I'd put glue on the wrong side to stick it in the wrong place, so I just dabbed the glue off and reapplied it on the right side. So now we add glue to the other side of our little gusset pieces so that we can stick our pocket together. And hopefully that'll give us a bit more room in our pocket to get things in and out. So I'll cover this piece with my stenciled book page. It's just nice to break it up from just all being digital. Gives you that bit of contrast that I really like. It makes it feel a bit more vintage. I'm sure you could probably write with a nice thick black pen over the top of those book pages as well. So again, with this flat piece here, I am going to create a tuck spot. So I'll cover the underside of it with book page because it's a little bit sticky. And I can stick the edges down. Then I just need to find a piece to decorate that white piece with. So I've got some more of the floral pages. So I would have had this up a bit earlier today, but I've been out looking at puppies. It was cuteness overload. So there's one of the ephemera pieces, and I've backed that onto some old book page to make it a bit thicker. And I'm just cutting the top down a bit so it fits into my tuck spot nicely. So Just having a flip through to see what we've done and what we need to do. So here's my little envelope book thing that we are working on. So I ended up using 4 of the cut down envelopes for the main pages, and then I'm using some of the offcuts of those so far to add a few bits and pieces. I stuck the envelopes together and then went out and sat down and figured out what I might like to do with each one of them, and put a sticky note there to remind me, or else I'd just forget and be confused. So front and back cover, we covered those with the beautiful papers. I actually made this one too short. Just had a few whoopsies when I was tearing it as to where I wanted the window, so I ended up just having a bit short, but I thought that won't matter because my idea was to put some paper or fabric or something around the spine anyway, so I'll just make it a bit longer on that side. And I showed you how I stenciled some of my vintage pages. Look, I put that one in upside down. That was good. Yeah, stenciled some of my vintage pages just to add some interest and use up some of my stash since it is a mash-up challenge. So there's one of the tags from the Floral Grace kit that fits in the front pocket there. I love how it looks through the window. So we've still got decorating to do there. So we covered the front cover, covered the inside of that. We've got our pocket there. I also added a belly band to put something on when I'm ready. And then we did cover this little piece, which is one of the offcuts of the envelope too. So we did cut off this bottom part and used these for the pages. So we had strips there and we had a thicker strip there that left over. So I've used one of those, which will be stuck in here as a flip up. So I've decorated the front of that, put some of the book page on the inside. It looks upside down, but when you have it flipped up, the writing is the right way. And then this is a little pocket in here as well as a pocket in there, which I still have to figure something to put in there. As I said, I'm just getting the basic bases done for now. So we still have to do something with that page and this one and this one. So I've still got a bit to do. I was surprised how long it took me just to do all of this, but it was heaps of fun. So with this envelope, we've got a pocket in there that I want to make a little booklet for. I've put this journal card in there, which it looks like I have some glue or something on. So I have to fix that up. So that slips in there nicely. Then there's the back. So far, that is what we have. So I hope you've enjoyed this one, and I will get on in the next couple of days and we will finish covering these other pages. That will probably take me a whole video. We'll see how we go. I've got tags and decorative bits to add as well, so we'll see how we go. 2 more videos at the most anyway. Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks again to Joey for the awesome freebies. Make sure you add the hashtag #MashUpJoey if you do participate. Don't know if I'm going to have time to do it each month, but I'll definitely be grabbing the freebies because I absolutely love them. So there's also a link to Joey's Etsy, so you can check out all of his other kits as well. So take care, be good, and I will see you again soon. Bye.